Have you ever found yourself with some leftover polymer clay veneers, maybe something that you were just doing for a technique or an exploration, and you had these leftover pieces and you had no idea what to do with them? Well, today I have a great idea for how to turn them into beautiful pendants. This idea is specifically for using the crackle technique that I showed in a previous video, but of course you could use it on anything. Hi there, Sandy here. Welcome to another polymer clay video at keepsakecrafts.net. So in a previous video, I showed you how to make fine crackles in polymer clay. And I have to tell you, I have been playing and exploring and making lists of all different ways of making crackles in polymer clay. And those will be coming up in upcoming videos. I've got all kinds of ideas, just fun ways of using clay and making interesting surface techniques. This is the one that I made last week and that I want to show you today. But I just thought I would show you, I actually spent the last couple hours playing with, these are just some leftover sheets from other experiments. This is from a Debbie Crothers class at the Polymer Clay Adventure 2017. Silk screened, crackled foil, here's a gradient. This is some faux abalone. These you might recognize from a previous video where I showed how to make tools to confine the widths of your polymer clay blends to be whatever you need, whether really narrow or a little bit wider. And everything here is stored in 2 layers of Glad Press and Seal, which I have found works fantastic. But let me show you some of the things I've made. So here's an example that I made with the green crackle that I showed you last week. Here's a bit of it. And this faux abalone, which I found in an online tutorial. I've seen several people have tried it. It's really a cool look. I used it to cover one of my dragons. And I'll have a link to that at my blog post because it isn't my tutorial. But I did the green crackles and the faux abalone. And the first thing I did was I put it on some scrap gray clay. And then I realized that when I made it into a cabochon using the Sculpey cabochon mold, that the background clay actually kind of squished through, which I didn't mind the look of as much as I might have. So then I tried it again on some black background clay, and I kind of liked them both, actually. And then here is the same faux abalone clay, only with blue clay with silver foil on it that's been crackled. And that's so easy to do. You just put the silver foil on, run it one direction through the pasta machine. Here it is. Crank it down a notch and then run it through in the other direction to get even crackles. These were all done. These 2 teardrops and these 2 rounds were done in the Sculpey cabochon mold just because it's really easy and quick. But this one I wanted to make my own shape because I really don't love most of these shapes. And so I shaped a heart just out of some scrap clay. And then I used, this is the Southwestern Mikumi Gane that I showed in a video. I'll have a link to that. And then some blue with gold crackled foil. And I alternated those. I also kind of emphasized the lines between them, where often we try to blend them away. I sort of emphasized them, and I'm going to go back in with some paint later on after it's baked. So you don't have to use cabochon molds. You can make your own shapes. What I will do is bake this, and once it's baked, I'll then add a backing to it. It's just easier to do it that way. Here's the green clay that I showed the crackles of last time. And this is some leftover pieces, probably the messed up cane ends of a peacock cane that I made. So don't throw these things away when you make them and you play with them and you think it's a total fail. By cutting it up into strips and then combining it with something else, I ended up with this. I actually formed this in the triangle here, which isn't my favorite shape. So I sort of worked on it, adding some curves to it, which now it sort of looks like something from Star Trek, which doesn't thrill me, but you can see that we got something interesting going on here with the green and black crackles and the peacock cane. And you can have fun with this, making it into a pendant, adding things to it. I'm just showing you ways to play, really. I've got a whole box of polymer clay sheets. And this is just a basic stripy blend. I could see this being gorgeous. Just all these different things with all these different possibilities. So let me show you how to do it. What I'm starting with today are just 2 different sheets. You can definitely have more than 2, but just to keep it simple, I thought I would stick to 2. I took some of this, you can see I chopped off a chunk of this turquoise and copper sheet and then rolled it through the pasta machine on the number 9. Whoop, making a mess. That's okay. And then this is also rolled in the number 9, and that's important that they're both rolled through on the same thickness so that when you make your veneer it's smooth, unless you want it lumpy, which might be a whole nother look that you want. Here I also have some black clay that I just rolled out on, I think I rolled it on the thinnest setting. It can be any setting really. It doesn't have to be particularly thick. And then this is some scrap clay. This is a million times more than I'll need, but I'll just save that for later. And then you just need a clay blade. So you can see already I started here. First, I just used my blade and cut a clean edge off of that veneer. And then I used my nice rigid clay blade to cut a piece. If these have been sitting for a while, you might find that they're a bit crumbly and brittle, but you can actually just piece them back together if they fall apart. But I'm just going to lay that on the backing piece. And now I'm going to bring in my gradient bit, and again just trim off a bit so that you have a nice clean edge. Now you can cut perfectly straight strips, you can cut them at an angle, you can cut them all the same width, you can cut them varying widths. I think it looks much more interesting to have widths that vary. And that's okay. See how that popped off on me? That's all right. Just gonna now you can feel this right here. I can feel it, and when you do it you'll be able to feel it, that if it was overlapped or if it was right next to it. So make sure if it feels like it's overlapped, just lift it up. And I'm just gonna stroke that a little, and I'm not gonna stress about it. It can be interesting. It can be an interesting opportunity for adding texture or something. So in this case, I am just alternating back and forth. I think I'll make this one a little thicker. And it's good if you can use your blade to help you pick it up, because they are very thin, and like I said, if they've been sitting for a while, they're fragile. But I found the blade wasn't a reliable helper, and I had to kind of keep just picking it up with my fingers, and if it fell apart, I'd piece it back together. Use the blunt end of your blade rather than the sharp end, because it goes all the way down instead of being tapered, and just kind of get in there, give it a press, and that will close up those gaps between the pieces. Now if you're doing a gradient like I am here, you can have all the gradients on one side, or you could actually alternate them. Just like on these, most of them, I think I kept the pattern going across, but you don't have to. I just kind of wanted to, where there was a pattern in there. I thought it was interesting to have it continuing across, although you don't see it much once you cut out a cabochon. Oh, I kind of like that. Maybe, whoop, yeah, that blue's falling apart. Get on there. And also, I forgot to mention, I pulled out a bunch of cutters that corresponded to the shapes. You want them a little bit bigger than your cabochon, because your cabochon has depth. I didn't have any triangle cutters, because triangles aren't a shape I love. So I pulled out a heart cutter, which actually works quite well for the triangles. And again, a circle just a little bit bigger than your one you need. And that will help you as you're working on this to decide where you're going to put parts that are favorites that you really want to feature in your piece, and what section you're going to cut. So just keep checking. Definitely need a few more strips. And you know, I was just having a great time. Like I said, I spent the last couple hours experimenting and playing and making all those samples I just showed you, and I just had some music on, and I had a favorite beverage, and I just had a great time. It was so much fun. And I don't know if I came out with anything that I'm going to love for long, but it was a great time of just playing. So never feel like when you're making things and you maybe have a bit of leftover, or maybe you're not actually 100% thrilled with it, when you're done, you just don't love it. Never feel like it's a waste. First of all, you're learning as you play and experiment and try things. You're learning about the clay. You're learning about your medium and how it works and different things you can and cannot do with it. There we go. And then you're learning what you like and what you don't like, and you're just growing in your creativity. So never, ever feel like it's a waste. So once you have as much veneer on there as you need to fill up your shape, this is great. You can use parchment paper, you could use wax paper. This is deli paper. You can buy them. They like go between hamburgers. I bought them on Amazon. I'll have a link at my blog, and they're just really handy because they come in these little square shapes. And I'm using either the pad of my middle finger or the side of my thumb, and you can really feel the lumps through the paper. And so you can very much feel as you smooth it down. Now that is all nice and smooth. Let's see what we've got. That's pretty cool. So I'm going to use my cutter, and here's another place where you have decisions to make. Which part do you want? I like that. And this is a double-sided cookie cutter. It's got a round, just a smooth round on one side and a serrated on the other. It's a little painful to press on. So I just use an acrylic block to press down, and that saves my fingers and gives me a nice clean cut. And then use your stiff blade to make sure you get under all of it and lift it all up. And I like to peel away the excess, and now I have that. And that orange looks so much like tiger stripes. I was thinking it would be fun to do something else that looks like animal, maybe zebra stripes or leopard spots, and combine them all together. Maybe it would be too much, I'm not sure. But it sounded like fun. So now once I have that done, I'm going to place it in my mold. Since it's round, the orientation doesn't matter, but of course if I was putting it in the teardrop, you'd have to decide, would you want it straight up and down, horizontal, at a diagonal? And the round, it doesn't matter. I'm going to do my best to center it in there. And then just grab some bits of scrap clay and stuff them in there. And I like to definitely overfill it a bit. So I hope that you have enjoyed and benefited from this video and all of my videos at YouTube. If you're new to my channel, be sure that you check them all out. I have lots of creative tutorials for jewelry and polymer clay, and often polymer clay jewelry. Those who support me on Patreon not only get the satisfaction of knowing that they're keeping these tutorials coming, because although they're free for you to watch on YouTube, and maybe this is a 10, 15, 20-minute video, you can be sure you can multiply that number by many, many times to figure how much time I have invested in this, not to mention materials and finances and overhead and all. So my patrons get a lot of extras. I give them bonus videos and bonus templates because it's because of them that I'm able to continue. So you just watched me there. What I did was I filled it. I definitely overfilled it. And then I wrapped the edges up and around. And I'm just trying to make this smooth. And to trim this, I like to use my flexible blade. Not so much because it's flexible, but because it's thin and very, very sharp. So lay that as flat as you can. I usually put one finger on the center to kind of hold my cabochon in the mold. And just use that to slide it off. And if you need to, you can kind of pull in from the edges and get those edges evened out. Now you can bake this right in here, but I'm always impatient and curious to see what it looks like. And that's kind of cool. So I hope that you take these ideas and run with them. Use the polymer clay pieces, bits and pieces that you have. Maybe make a crackle sheet based on the video that I showed you last time. And then start experimenting and playing and looking at all the different possibilities and combinations that you can make. This can then be put in a bezel. You can add clay around it, turn it into a pendant, add dangles to it, add all sorts of things, and have yourself some really beautiful polymer clay jewelry. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Take a look at my Patreon page for how you can get rewards for yourself and help support these tutorials for everybody. Happy creating. Bye-bye.